Well, TikTok has gone offline in the United States. It shut down less than 2 hours before a ban was slated to go into effect. The extraordinary blackout now prevents access to one of the world's most popular social media apps, one that had been used by 170 million Americans. The app also has disappeared from Apple's App Store and the Google Play Store. TikTok's action comes after the US Supreme Court upheld a ban that was passed with a broad bipartisan support in US Congress and signed into law in April 2024 by President Joe Biden. The law prevents American companies from hosting or serving content for the Chinese-owned social media platform unless it sells itself to a buyer from the United States or one of its allies. But why was the law passed in the first place is the big question. Several lawmakers in the United States raised concerns regarding TikTok's parent company, ByteDance. They were worried that ByteDance's close ties to the Chinese government could lead to espionage or influence operations. Several concerns regarding data security of users and censorship were also raised. Over the course of the last few years, several reports corroborating this have also come to light. Back in 2019, images of Hong Kong democracy protests and police crackdowns were strangely absent on TikTok. In fact, in 2023, a former executive at ByteDance stated in a legal filing that some members of the ruling Communist Party used data held by TikTok to identify and locate protesters in Hong Kong. Other reports of TikTok instructing its moderators to delete or limit the reach of videos touching on topics sensitive to China also emerged. These topics included the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests and subsequent massacres, Tibetan independence. But that's not all that concerns the American lawmakers. Concerns that rose sharply when the CCP appointed a director to sit on the board of ByteDance. Now, as the app goes black in the United States, it has mounted pressure on President-elect Donald Trump. In a message that flashed on users' screens, they stated that they are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. Trump, meanwhile, hinted earlier that he may grant a 90-day reprieve for the app's acquisition by an American company. Even if temporary, the unprecedented shutdown of TikTok is set to have a wide-ranging impact on US-China relations, US domestic politics, the social media marketplace, and millions of Americans who depend on the app economically and culturally. So the question is, will Trump shut shop or not? We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the platform at this point in time is Ambassador Suresh Kumar Goel, former diplomat, Dr. Pawan Duggal, cyber law expert, Mr. Pathikrit Pine, geopolitical analyst, joins us on the program as well. And last but by no means the least, Mr. Sumit Peer, senior political commentator, joins us on the program as well. Ambassador Goel, what do you make of this ban? Is this the loudest statement that has come from the Americas when it comes to showing any kind of a dissent, or rather, the beginning of an unsavory relationship between the two giants? Or do you think that this is a technicality that the Americans could no longer afford? Let's not forget that TikTok, did access a lot of sensitive information which could be used by the Chinese to benefit themselves when it came to, several competitions that they've had with the United States, including the big economic competition.
Very good afternoon to you. You said America. Which America are we talking about? Are we talking about Biden's America? Are we talking about Trump's America? And the two Americas are going to be absolutely different. And I don't think I need to explain that. The statements coming through their own strategic or a world vision, it's explanatory enough. Now, my question is, or my sense is not really that Biden's government and through the judicial process managed to ban TikTok. They did. There was enough cause for it, considering that China has been considered as a strategic rival, a confrontational rival, and with the kind of content they were putting in and with their affiliation to China, I think it was a natural process. My question is this: why is then President Trump, or President-elect today and President tomorrow Trump, who himself has announced China as an enemy. He has not used the word enemy, but he has made it very clear that China is their number one strategic rival. Why is Donald Trump saying that he will find a way to make sure that at least for 90 days the ban does not become effective? There have been also statements saying that the ban on TikTok is not really quite right, and there are speculations. In fact, not speculations, reported that Elon Musk has an interest in buying TikTok. Now, given all those factors, I think what we have been saying all along that when Trump becomes president, what is going to take precedence? Will the precedents be their own strategic interest, or will it be the transactional view of Trump? And with Elon Musk becoming the advisor number one to Trump, how much will he prevail? I think the outcome on Trump, sorry, I said Trump, but the outcome on TikTok will demonstrate how far will Trump go to protect his or his allies' commercial interests. Vinny.
Sumit, how do you look at this particular predicament for Donald Trump? The fact of the matter is, though he may be somebody who's learned the art of a deal, and he's considered to be one of the most business-minded presidents to take up the position of the American president, but the fact of the matter is that there are serious concerns when it comes to TikTok. If TikTok wanted to operate in the United States, why would they not want to arbitrarily, sell themselves to an American owner and let the application thrive? Obviously, the Communist Party not want so.
Vinay, thank you for having me on your show. Kindly give me a minute more. There are a lot of things I have to put in perspective. First and the most important thing is, look, American courts, American judicial system understands TikTok is a threat to the national security. That is why the ban was imposed. That is why even the Supreme Court of America upheld the ban. The ban was supposed to come in place today, but the Supreme Court was of the view because, look, Biden is leaving. It's his last day in office. Technically, tomorrow Trump is taking over. So Biden cannot impose this ban. Let Donald Trump impose the ban. That is the backdrop of it. Now, what happened on this Wednesday? I'm quoting this Wednesday, 3 din pehle. Marco Rubio, the incoming foreign affairs minister or the foreign secretary of United States of America, addressed the press. He addressed China as cheats, liars, and thieves, quote unquote, cheats, liars, and thieves. And these are the people who have stolen everything from America. They do espionage. They steal things. They are not a superpower. And whatever America did to get the mainstream, they have hit us back. They are our number one adversary. Our foreign policy is going to be based around China. And remember, 2 months back, the nuclear doctrine of USA was rewritten with China being in the focus. So that is Marco Rubio, and he said a lot of things that the foreign policy of America is going to change, and it's all about China. And let me remind you, Marco Rubio is a person who is banned from China. So the new foreign affairs minister or the foreign secretary who replaces Anthony Blinken's, Marco Rubio is a person who is elected by Trump, who is the son of a Cuban immigrant, cannot go to China because he's on the embargo. You can see where the hostilities rise. And China did not even repute one line of what Marco Rubio said. And even, just Tuesday or something, there was a ban imposed by Joe Biden on AI chips. Immediately at 2 a.m. midnight, the spokesperson of Chinese Communist Party, Miss Mao, came and said, oh, it's all arbitrary, it's atrocious, and all the Chinese Rona Dona. But up to Marco Rubio's statements, nothing. Then Trump calls Xi and says, I have 3 things to talk about you: TikTok, trade, and fentanyl. Fall in line, otherwise I'll revoke your PTNR status. That means you'll have 50% more tariff on the things. Let me give you a little bit of background on what happened. When Obama was in the place, he gave China MFN, most favored nation. That means Chinese imports only had 2.5% import duty in America. So China literally whacked the whole market. Trump came in, this duty went to 25%. Recently, 25% duty on Mexico and Canada for supporting Chinese interests, fentanyl, and Chinese immigrants into America. 10% on China. The people will ask why 10% of China and 25% of Mexico and Canada. Because there's something called PTNR status. PTNR status is given to the people where you have a normal trade relation. The day you revoke the normal trade relation, that means you will have additional 50% tariff. So technically speaking, practically speaking, Chinese imports into America will have 60% more tariff. I mean, they are already paying 25%, 60% more. And if they fiddle with Taiwan, it will be 160%, which will impact Chinese economy by 600 billion to 1 trillion US dollars in exports. I think there are the three things Trump talked to Xi. Fentanyl is a big, big issue in America. A lot of people are dying across the ages. Then you have TikTok, and then you have the tariffs. These are the three things which Trump spoke to him a couple of days back. And after getting whacked by Marco Rubio, after getting literally whacked by Trump, still Chinese delegation is coming for the inauguration of President Trump. I thought they will have some humility and they will back out. They did not back out. They came for the of this. Now, talking about TikTok, look, there are three bidders which are for TikTok. The grapevine says, the sources say Elon Musk is interested. Elon Musk is ready to put $100 billion. If he can put 44 for Twitter, it's a good deal for $100 billion. He can put $100 billion to take over TikTok because there are 170 million Americans on it, 17 crore log, half of the America's population. And there's another app called which is called a Redmi. Today, these people are migrating to Redmi. They are called TikTok refugees. So rather than them jumping from pan to fire, if Elon Musk or somebody holds the app, these people can be happily on TikTok. Today, when you look at TikTok, American audiences and Chinese audiences are separated. But on Redmi app, they are all one. So the chances of going data there, the chances of information going there is quite clear. And it is the American foreign minister now who is saying that China steals information, China is into espionage, we cannot trust Chinese. It's not what I'm saying now. So with all those things, Elon Musk coming or somebody coming and taking over the TikTok to stop that migration to other Chinese apps would be quite logical. And I think that is why Trump has asked for this 90 days time, so that he can start and she can salvage the situation, because you don't want to jump from pan to fire and fire to pan. And let's not forget, if Chinese have the information, it can go to North Korea, it can go to Russia, it can even go to countries like Pakistan and God knows where. So looking at the national security of the America, it's a welcome step. But Trump will not want the people to jump from fire to pan and pan to fire. That is why this 90 days intervention is there. And possibly if Elon Musk buys it, it will not be bad for American interests in the long run. But the talk between Xi and Trump said, I had a good call. Chinese never gave a press briefing. China has not spoken on that. After two standing humiliations by Marco Rubio and Trump, no press briefing from China. And usually when he met, compare it when he met Biden in San Francisco, within 30 minutes, there was a complete press briefing out. Why Chinese are in slumber? Why they are in hibernation? Because China has been whacked. And I was surprised after Marco Rubio called him cheats, liars, and thieves, quote unquote. No reaction from People's Republic of China. Bhai, dhar gaye kya? I don't know what is happening now, Vineet. It's interesting. Let's wait and watch. Maza aa raha hai. Vineet?
Applications were detrimental for the safety of the nations. Why do you think the Americans are late to this party? Mr. Duggal?
Sorry, yes. I could hardly not hear you. Could you repeat your question?
So, what I said was that though the Americans have banned TikTok now, let us not forget that it was India who was a catalyst when it came to banning all these Chinese applications because of security concerns. Why do you think a country like the United States has realized this quite late into the day?
I think economic interests have been a paramount factor. When you have 170 million American users with TikTok contributing about 24 billion to the US economy, that's a very, very big number for any government to take this forward. So that's the reason why they were delaying it, because any kind of ban on TikTok is bound to have a slightly detrimental impact upon the US economy. But then the Biden administration got this new law passed, and pursuant to this law, the time has come for TikTok to either wind up or sell off to a US entity. TikTok has made it very, very clear that, look, we are not selling it off to a US entity. So with their head-on confrontation, the only logical corollary is that TikTok is now off the screens in America. American approach was still now more guided by economic interests, but now with the timeline already up, the national security is what is a paramount interest as far as the American government is concerned. At the end of the day, countries like India have already demonstrated that these Chinese apps are used as camouflage agents to go ahead and not just collect data from target jurisdictions, but also to send them back to China for particular analysis, for a variety of purposes, for the purposes of targeting the specific target nations. India banned TikTok many times, many years back, and we have been continuously banning various Chinese apps. America has taken the legislative route. In India, we normally ban by coming up with the notification under Section 69A of the Information Technology Act 2000, which is issued by the central government. But that's as part of a secondary legislation that's given under the Indian law. But in America, the American Senate has actually passed this law mandating or giving these options to TikTok to either sell off to a US entity or close shop, because your operations are a direct detrimental impact upon the sovereignty, security, and integrity of America. Now that the timeline is over, the TikTok currently is not available. President Trump has said maybe we are looking at another 90 days after he comes into office. But then what after 90 days? Well, there are a number of potential people who would like to bid. Perplexity in AI is also learned to be an important player who's bidding for this kind of an exercise. What ultimately happens, we'll have to wait and watch. But through this legislation, America has really sought to kill two birds with one stone. Number one, protect American security interests and strategic interests. Number two, to force the Chinese entity to ensure compliance with American law and give up its ownership in the favor of an American entity. While right now, the confrontation is only midway through, the chapter is not yet over, more deliberations will take place, but ultimately, the fundamental question will be whether America will still, after this so-called 90-day hiatus period that President Trump may grant, may still want to continue with TikTok, or whether it would say that, look, my national interest, my national security is paramount. And now that the US Supreme Court has already upheld this particular law, the decks are clear. This law now cannot be challenged. The president can at best extend it by 90 days, but after 90 days, the law should take its logical consequences. So it will be interesting to see how the politics works, how the strategic interest works, and how security versus economy equation pans out, given the finality of this law as has been upheld by the US Supreme Court.
All right. Valid point, Mr. Duggal. Pathikrit, well, though TikTok may be an application, there is an element of frivolity when it comes to applications that are used for, vain ends, if I can use that terminology. But the fact of the matter is that, this development, Pathikrit, and I hope you agree, has the potential to redefine the tension that has persisted between these two economic giants for a lot many years. And this might also precipitate the tensions that the Americans and the Chinese have been dealing with, say in a country like Taiwan or other matters which are geopolitically, at odds with both the nations.
Vineet, first of all, there is no economy without security. Number one. Number two, let's put it this way. This is an era of disinformation warfare. And once where we already see that China has completely firewalled its own digital world or from American companies, and you don't have a Facebook or a YouTube or a Twitter operates in China, I see no reason why China would have a problem if America reciprocates. And there is a reason why Twitter was taken over by Elon Musk, because Twitter was a typical woke entity, a leftist woke entity, and they have acknowledged what they used to do in terms of, controlling traffic based on whether it is up to their orientation or not. And there is this Chinese lobby which works with it. It's very clear. So Elon Musk will try to buy it. But let me put it this way. In this era of disinformation warfare, if we think that global entities should be allowed to do what they want, this is not going to happen. Because today, some of these corporate giants have, and some of these, these digital and social media entities have become so powerful, they actually decide which government should stay in power and which will go away from power. The entire Arab Spring was also called the Twitter war. How George Soros used Twitter that time to instigate Arab Spring in one country after another. In India, in 2024 Lok Sabha election, are we to say that AI and algorithms were not used to direct and control the digital media and social media traffic? Anybody who has been into social media during election time, speaking on it, exactly knows which traffic got traction and which was curtailed. So I think, let me put it this way, every time I am not speaking on behalf of the Americans, but I'm saying it this way, that every time we say that Chinese are stealing, data, well, the American companies do exactly the same thing. So it is a war of two big giants on information technology. Agreed. And if anybody understands what Washington consensus has been since 1950s, how the big American corporations, governments, and multilateral institutions had an understanding of helping each other, well, that's exactly what the Chinese have done. So these are big two companies where their war, as you rightly mentioned, Vinith, is getting into the IT sector. Not just at the IT sector, the social and the digital media. IT already has a huge war between them. The issue is this: what are we supposed to do as a country, Vinith? It's not, is it enough just to ban TikTok, or should we also have a policy in terms of whether organizations based in the United States can dictate traction with AI or algorithms of which political parties' views will get more, content will get more views, and which political party will not get it. So our data is controlled from abroad. We are entirely at the mercy. Even this program is happening through an app which is not based in India. So I think we should introspect. As we say that we are the 5th largest economy of the world, we are about to overtake Japan. As a 4th largest economy, we are almost a $4 trillion economy today. Where do we stand in this IT war that's happening among giants? And where we say that we should also have a legitimate place. The Chinese worked on the PLA 863 program from 1980s, where they made it very clear that workstation switching, network, and mobile telephony surveillance, they would have their own space globally. And that is why Huawei, Hikvision, Lenovo, these companies, ZTE, have come up. So they were competing directly against American corporates and created their own, versions of the same. Where do we stand? Our IITs, our top so-called IT companies have been simply service providers. They were very happy to maintain the software. We have never bothered about creating our own entities. Where do we stand, Vinith? Our next problem is we are entirely at the mercy of somebody else. Banning Chinese TikTok app, great decision. But are we to just stop there? Are we to still believe that the West is a great friend of us? They will be with us all the time? Why do you think they created a Bangladesh? I'll tell you one thing, my last point. When this Bangladesh crisis started from July to August, you know, Vinith, throughout Eastern India, the moment you open YouTube, I'm just naming it, I don't know whether this program will also get banned or not, you will only get content from Bangladesh. You are only getting content from Bangladesh, nothing else. That is how traffic management at the micro level also happens. Because people in Eastern India understand more or less the Bengali.
All right, okay. All right, valid points, Pathikrit, but unfortunately we've run out of time. I completely concur with you. There are multiple shades to this issue. Would like to thank all my guests. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you for being here.